Hello Bluth, welcome to another video here on the True Fans of Don Bluth page. Big shout out to everyone that's watched the previous videos, that have liked the previous videos, that have subscribed. I think we're sitting at 10 at the moment. I'm aiming to be at 50 subscribers by the end of the year. That might not seem like a big goal to some, but it is to me. I'll be absolutely over the moon if I get 50 subs by the end of the year. I'm hoping to be posting a video maybe every 2 to 3 weeks, depending on the popularity of each video. If we start getting more views, more likes, more subs, then of course I'm going to put out the output a lot more and a lot more frequently, and do videos you guys want to see. Like I've said in early videos, I'm aiming to do that interview or interviews with animators that have worked for Don in the past, and then that big boom gold tier is obviously interviewing Don Bluth and or Gary Goldman. That'd be absolute dream come true, so I'm aiming for that. Might be out of reach, but hey, you gotta aim for something, don't you? Alright, so this video I am doing the 10 most interesting facts about the Land Before Time. It is the third one in this series, chronological order of all Don Bluth's films that I am doing. I did Secret of Nim, obviously, then American Tail, and now The Land Before Time. Now, this one is considered by many the best movie in the Don Bluth franchise. Over the years, I've done a few different polls and competitions, pretty much put two Don Bluth movies up against each other. The winner moves on to the finals, blah, blah. I'm pretty sure of all 3 times The Land Before Time has made the final 3 times and actually won twice. I think Secret of Nim won the other one. So it was always, Land Before Time was always in there, and I think it even come up against Anastasia, I think, maybe. There's a few smokers in as well, but yeah, Land Before Time is considered by many as the best. So we'll get into the facts, shall we? So this one I find probably, excuse me, one of the most interesting facts about the movie was something that hadn't really been done that much. This was actually conceived as a dialogue-free movie, so the dinosaurs weren't going to talk at all. It was kind of, from what I can gather, it was going to be a bit Fantasia-esque. Pardon me. Yes, it's going to be Fantasia-esque. There was going to be no dialogue at all, and it hadn't really been done at all. Obviously Fantasia did it in 1940, and then between that and Land Before Time in 1988, I don't think that there was a feature-length animated movie that was no dialogue. It was a bit of a ballsy move at the time, but it actually went even further than early stages. I think a lot of the storyboards and character animations were done in the mind that it was going to be a silent movie. Oops, sorry guys, my mic cut out there a bit. Spielberg, he really wanted to do a dinosaur movie, and it's something he'd been wanting to do for a long time, and he thought this was a great opportunity after the success critically and financially of American Tail. He really wanted to do this movie, love of dinosaurs, and the thing was that him and Don and Gary and George Lucas all kind of threw up was, are these characters going to be relatable enough if they're not going to talk? Now, Fantasia was different because that was, over 10 different standalone scenes to composed music, whereas this was a start to finish movie following the same storyline with the same group of characters, which would have been so ballsy, and I'm not sure if it would have had the impact. But you fast forward to nowadays, there's a show called Primal by Gendy Tartakovsky, who was the creator of Samurai Jack. Primal is pretty much a show about a caveman and a T-Rex. Actually, I don't think it's a T-Rex. I think it's, I might be. Yeah, I'm actually not quite sure what dinosaur it is. I don't think it's a T-Rex. It's a bit too small. But they form a bond after they both have massive losses in their lives, and they form a bond along the way. And there is actually no dialogue whatsoever. And it's not even music based. It's a lot of sound effects, a lot of silence, and all that. So I think if The Land Before Time was to go down that route, it would go down that route. It would work a lot better than music and all that. So I'm not quite sure what route Spielberg and Don were kind of going towards more when this was in the early stages. But yeah, I find that a really interesting fact, and I would be very intrigued to see how that would have gone. Now this is a really interesting behind-the-scenes fact. Now this is I got off a website. So most of the depicted beautiful barren wastelands were a real challenge for the creative team because of their vastness and the designs that they wanted to go towards. So they actually had 600 background paintings were done for the movie alone, which at that time was a lot. Now, I'm not quite sure what the average background painting number was in that period of animated feature films, but that's a lot. I can tell you that. That's a lot. And Don really, if it was going to be done, it had to be done right. And that's probably to the animators' annoyance, but I guess that they would know, that it was all for the better of the film. That, Don really, really wanted everything to be perfect. He was an absolute perfectionist. And he emphasised to the illustrators the vibrant colours that need to be there, and they absolutely nailed it. Because they didn't want the backdrops to be too drab and boring, and they wanted a desolate setting, but a beautiful desolate setting. And this is something that Don's movies are unique for, and I think actually done better than majority of Disney movies. I'll probably have people argue with me that fact, but the one thing that Don has always done in his films, and his animators have done under his guidance, is no matter the background, what it's meant to depict, or whatever the setting is, they're vibrant colours, they're beautiful, but it also fits with what it's meant to be. Okay, so it's a barren wasteland, but it has got vibrant colours, and it is beautiful without not looking like a barren wasteland. It still looks like that, but it gives it the most beautiful, perfect twist you can find. So that's something that Don has always done in his films that I've always loved. On to the next fact. A lot of people might know this one. This is probably the most well-known fact. Littlefoot's name was originally Thunderfoot, but they actually, along the way, had to change the name because there was a Triceratops in a children's book called Thunderfoot. I'm not quite sure the name of the book. I'm not sure if the book is called Thunderfoot or something else, but obviously to not have to pay copyright and all that, they changed the name to Littlefoot, as we know. And under the same fact, Sarah was actually meant to be a male called Bambo. Quite a pugnacious type character in that way, but they changed because they didn't think that the characters had on-screen chemistry and all that. So it's such an interesting thing, isn't it, that animated characters can fail at chemistry or have amazing chemistry. It's quite a thing to behold. And I guess it's even harder to pull off in an animated movie than it is in a live-action movie. Because in a live-action movie, you get two actors. If they have good chemistry together, boom, lock it in. They're going to have chemistry for the whole movie. With an animated movie, it's voices, the animation, the character design. There's about 3 or 4 different things all come into play for chemistry, and that's something this movie definitely gets down pat. And that's why you got to appreciate changes like this, from Bambo going to Sarah, changing the gender of the character, all that type of stuff makes changes, and they obviously thought it was for the best. And we can't compare it if it was the best or not, because we went in those rooms, we didn't compare Bambo and Sarah, blah blah blah, but they did, so they obviously knew they made the call, and it was a better call. Now this is another interesting fact. As we know, Don's movies were a lot darker than probably anything that Disney's ever done. The only one that probably holds up is The Black Cauldron, which is my personal favourite Disney movie of all time. I think it's fantastic. I actually grew up thinking that The Black Cauldron was actually a Don Bluth film. And when I hit, I think, early teenage years and actually started doing research and really delved into the world of Don Bluth, I realised it wasn't. It was actually a Disney movie, but Tim Burton had a lot of say in that movie, which makes a lot of sense to me. So yeah, as we know, Don loves his darkness. He loves to tell stories that border on the edge of scaring children, but also educating them. So yeah, Gary Goldman said in an interview that actually they compromised a lot Land Before Time. Spielberg and George Lucas wanted so many scenes cut from the movie because they thought it'd be too scary for kids, blah, blah, blah. Gary and Don fought for the scenes that they thought had to be in the movie, but also didn't cross that line of being too scary. But they lost, I think, about 19 to 20 scenes because Stephen and George said that they were too scary. And Stephen was famous for saying, "We'll have kids crying in the lobby and angry parents. You don't want that." So, obviously Stephen knows. Stephen knows how to make movies for families, for kids, for adults. He knows how to make movies for every genre. So, obviously listen to him. And I don't think the movie suffered from that. I would love to see all individual scenes added into the movie into like a director's cut or something. That'd be quite cool to see how dark this movie could have been. On to the next fact. This one I find really interesting. I didn't know about this fact at all until I started doing research for this YouTube video. Was the character Ruta, as we all know, is the dinosaur that comforts Littlefoot after the death of her mother and gives him advice. I'm getting so confused. Okay, yeah. So Ruta gives Littlefoot the death of his mother some advice, and that's actually because so with everything going on and with Stephen's advice, I actually consulted quite a few child psychologists at the time and to see what their opinion was, if it was going to be too scary for kids, if it would scar kids, if parents would be mad and start protests and boycott the film, blah, 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 all those things that still happen today, really. So it was mainly the mother, Littlefoot's mother dying. The research went into that scene particularly because at this time, the only film that really replicated this was the death of Bambi's mother in the 1940s. The difference was the mother pretty much died off screen. It was quite a swift transition from that to Bambi sulking and all that type of stuff. Whereas this was different. Like we, as fans, we have to trudge through Littlefoot and his mother talking while she is dying for I don't know how long, maybe 2 to 4 minutes around that. That's a long time to be having to deal with a death scene. Like that's longer than Simba and Mufasa, which came 6 years later. So I can understand why they actually went into this with psychologists, blah blah blah. So one of the psychologists actually come up with the idea of a character like Ruta to kind of give advice and say the famous lines he says, like, "You'll always miss her, but she'll always be with you as long as you remember the things she taught you." So lines like that, the psychologist felt as though that would be a good way to finish up that scene and to kind of like mop it up a bit, make it a bit more, positive and like your mother's always going to be there and all that type of stuff. So I think that was, a really, really good touch, and it'd be interesting to find out how many other animated movies and stuff like that have actually, if Disney ever did this with Bambi and Lion King and all those traumatic scenes, if they actually reached out to child psychologists or not. And a lot of people, I'm not sure if a lot of people know this or not, but the voice of Ruta is actually Pat Hingle, who is actually the narrator of the whole film, so that's pretty cool. They found a character for him to do, if it's only one scene, I think. Another fact, I'm not sure if it's a massive fact or not, but James Horner was the composer for this movie, did the soundtrack. This is one of his earlier, bigger films. This is before he won all the Oscars for like Braveheart, Titanic, Avatar, all those movies. This was kind of his first big hitters, I think, that is kind of a recognisable soundtrack. We hear the music, we all know what movie it's from. He also, with Will Jennings, actually penned the song "If We Hold On Together," with Diana Ross sings the amazing song that runs in the end credits. The next fact is such a heart-wrenching fact, and it hurts me to always have to read about this and always have to relay this on, but I think a lot of people know that Judith Barcy, she was known to voice a lot of animated characters in Don's movies. Pardon me, if a lot of people don't know Judith, little background, she was 10. She was from Hungarian heritage, and she appeared in like 70 to 100 commercials or something like that. Madness for a kid that wasn't even 10 by that point, which was on commercials. She actually also did the voice of pardon me. She also voiced in Old Dogs Go to Heaven, and she voiced obviously Ducky in 11 Before Time. And when tragedy struck in July of 1988, Barcy's father murdered her mother, and then took his own life. Very, very sad story. So she actually did both movies, Old Dogs Go to Heaven and Land Before Time, before she was actually able to see both films, which is absolutely heart-wrenching. It's such a sad story. So I won't dwell on that one for too long. On to the next one. So this is the record-setting weekend that I had. So I think... Now, this is only domestic, so I couldn't quite get the numbers for international, but for domestic, it got 7 million over its opening weekend on the weekend of 18th of November, 1988. Yeah, and it made a lot of money. I think it wasn't, its record-setting opening weekend wasn't actually broken until The Incredibles 2. Yeah, The Incredibles 2, I think, was the first animated movie to actually break the record the Land Before Time held at that time. Now, this is another interesting fact that a lot of people probably won't know. In I think it was 1996, 1997, there was actually going to be a Land Before Time stage musical. And the tagline was going to be, "The time has come for dinosaurs on Broadway." So, hold on, I'll do that in a better narrative voice, hold on. The time has come for dinosaurs on Broadway. That was pretty bad, but that's right. I'll give it a go. Yeah, so it was, it was going to be a proper, gung-ho Broadway musical. Like nothing, wasn't off Broadway or anything like that. It was going to be a full-on Broadway musical with all of the same characters returning. I think, obviously, a lot of the scores in the movie actually turned into songs and blah, 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 but it faded quite quickly, the idea. I'm not sure why, the reasons that it didn't go ahead, but from what I can gather, it was an idea that boom was kind of greenlit straight away, but then it was canned very quickly after that. Now, on to the last fact, kind of going back onto the other fact just before about the domestic weekend. So, I always love when big studios go head-to-head. So this time, obviously, Don was Disney's only rival. And actually, he was winning the rivalry at that point in the late 80s with American Tail demolishing Great Mouse Detective. And Land Before Time actually opened the same weekend as Oliver and Company, which I actually don't mind that movie, but it doesn't compare to Land Before Time. But so that weekend, the numbers were Land Before Time grossed domestically $7.5 million. And Oliver and Company was actually fourth that weekend with just over $4 million. It actually was, Oliver and Company was actually beaten out by two movies that were already out the week before, which doesn't happen a lot unless it's a big blockbuster movie where they're the opening weekend leader for a few weeks in a row. That doesn't happen most of the time. One movie will come out week one, it'll make big. The second week it will drop a bit because a new movie's already come out and it's going to topple it. Whereas Oliver and Company was actually pipped out by Child's Play at $5,200,000 and Ernest Saves Christmas just under $5 million. So it was beaten out quite convincingly by Child's Play, which I find very, very interesting. That Child's Play, in its second week of being out, and actually the horror movie got beat out by an animated movie, which it's very rare because obviously there's more kids, more families, blah, 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 that go see animated movies. So obviously the numbers are bigger. So a family of four, 2 adults, 2 kids, boom, that's 4 tickets sold. Whereas horror movies are obviously one of the lesser genres, although the horror fans are probably some of the most, loyal fans in the movie industry. Is obviously, you're not going to take kids to go see a horror movie, so your wife probably doesn't like it, so you and a mate will go see it. That's only 2 tickets. So very rarely does a horror movie beat out an animated movie, especially considering the animated movie was on its first weekend and the horror movie was on its second weekend. It blows me. Even a big movie like Child's Play just blows my mind. And Ernest Saves Christmas, I've got nothing to say about that. That beat Oliver and Company just blows my mind. And The Land Before Time just blew everyone out of the water, like 7.5 million, and the only thing close to it was Child's Play, which was almost 2.5 million less. So that's just mind-boggling. And it beat out Oliver and Company by 3.5 mil. So, yeah, that's very interesting. I love when rival movie companies go head-to-head. I love it. And a lot of people actually Google and see Oliver and Company has made 121 million in the box office. Well, that's not accurate because that's actually counting in re-releases. Now, we all know Disney in the 80s and 90s were big on re-releasing their movies, also with their older movies as well. But it's something they've stopped doing now, obviously, with DVDs and streaming services and whatnot. But yeah, they actually re-released Oliver and Company in 1996 to go up against Old Dogs Go to Heaven 2 as kind of, I think, I don't know why you'd pick that as a bit of revenge. But the only thing is Old Dogs Go to Heaven 2 was a crappy sequel that Don had nothing to do with and was made by MGM. So, of course, they're going to blow it out of the water. So, yeah, Oliver and Company did not make more than Land Before Time because Land Before Time actually wasn't re-released. Not in that scale. When Disney re-released their movies, they re-released their movies like it was a new movie coming out. They put money into marketing. They released it for a month. Like they put hard, solid time into re-releasing their movies because they were guaranteed money because they didn't have any rivals. So if people wanted to see good quality animated movies, they had to try and get their hands on Japanese anime movies, or they watched re-release Disney movies. That up until Don came out and made them poop their pants, and then the Disney Renaissance happened. So that'd be another discussion for another video. But yeah, that wraps up this episode, guys. Like I said, thanks so much. Make sure you like this video, sub it, share it, like the page, join our Don Bluth fan discussion group on Facebook. I can't even speak English. I'm that excited about all the videos that I've got coming out for you guys. Yeah, so I'll have my main channel and my gaming channel down in the description down below. If you want to give them a go, give them a like and give us something, it'd be much, much appreciated. I'm out here grinding on, 3 different channels, so it'd be much appreciated, but obviously I'm not going to beg for it. Do as you will. I just love that you guys are watching videos and voicing your opinion. Like I say in every video, if you want me to do any video about anything, down in the comments below and I'll do it for you. Alright guys, stay safe, catch us later. Goodbye.